If you're thinking about a pair of short boots for this summer, then keep watching because these Stylmartin Vertigo Airs might just be what you're looking for. Hi, Tony here, and welcome to what I hope will be a short and concise yet informative look at these Stylmartin Vertigo Air Boots. Now, I've had these boots for well over a year, and I've resisted bringing a review of them so far because I wanted to give them a really good test. You know, I always test everything on this channel that I review. I never just take it out of the box and tell you what it's all about. Some I wear for a few days, depending on what it is. Some might be weeks or months. In some cases, I want to wear them for a long term and see what they are. Particularly these, because they're not an all-round boot. These were bought to be worn in the summer and in hot climates. Now I've had plenty of opportunity to use them. They've got a good amount of wear, plenty of miles under them. I thought I'd let you know what I think of them. So let's just take a quick look at the construction of them. They are a suede leather and textile boot. You've got this section here which you can see, which is a mesh panel. Now it's not a sort of bare mesh that just goes straight onto the inside. You still have the lining on the inside of the boot that covers all of that, just a light grey lining. But these mesh panels have a dual purpose. They will let air out, so when you've got hot sweaty feet they allow them to breathe, but they'll also allow cool air in whilst you're moving on the bike. For the motorcycle element, they've got D3O armour in the ankles. They're a relatively stiff boot. They're not the stiffest in the world, but that's part of the compromise to make them walkable, but that's not too bad. For both bike and walking, you've got a really nice grippy sole, relatively soft in its rubber, but it's still not the easiest to twist. I think they've made a good compromise on them. In terms of features, there's not really that much to talk about. There's a little pocket in the tongue here for you to tuck your laces in when you've tied that up to stop them from flapping around. You've got a loop on the back to pull them on, and there's some reflective detailing in there as well. In terms of styling, they are very much styled like a walking boot. I think they're a nice looking boot. They do them in this grey version. They've got another version which is called Mud, which is a sort of a greeny brown colour. But I like this colour particularly. I think the styling is quite discreet. If you were to walk into a pub or a restaurant or into the office wearing these and a pair of riding jeans, people wouldn't necessarily know you've just got off a bike, which sometimes can be a good thing. Now, as I've said, I've had these for well over a year. I've done a lot of riding in them. So let's cover off some of the pros and cons. Obviously, the first pro for these is their comfort. Straight out of the box, they feel like a nicely worn in pair of boots. Very easy to walk in. Sizing wise, they're accurate. If anything, I think they're fractionally generous. So if you buy the size that you would normally buy, you'll have no problems whatsoever. They'll also accommodate a relatively wide foot. Now, I've got quite wide feet and I never felt like I had any problems with them squishing in the side, which sometimes can be a problem with Italian boots, but these were fine. They are very easy to walk in. I've spent days out on the bike when I'm off and out and going to shows and walking around or doing some sightseeing and that sort of stuff, and they are perfect for walking around. And in fact, I've actually worn these as hiking boots in the summer when I wanted something that's going to keep my feet cool, but I needed something a little bit more robust than just a pair of trainers, and they've worked really well for that. You can walk great distances in them. I've done 3, 4, 5 mile walks in these, no problem, without any blisters and without any discomfort. One other thing I like about these when you're on the bike is that they've got a low profile, shallow toe box, so you never have any issues with getting your toes under the shifter, which you can do with some adventure style boots. This mesh panel is also very good. Now, I said earlier on that it does allow your feet to breathe, so when your feet get hot, that they can breathe nicely. But you do also notice on those hot days when you're riding along, you get a cooling breeze that runs over that, and that air does seep its way in and it does keep your feet cool. That's really good. There's a caveat to that, and that's something that I'm going to look at in the cons. Obviously, I guess that's the first con to start with. They are not a waterproof boot. They don't have a membrane in them, and obviously this mesh will allow water to get into the inner lining and your feet will get wet. Now, I've ridden them in quick showers and they're fine, they're not too bad. Persistent rain, if you're in it for any length of time, then the water will seep through and it will get your feet wet. I suppose the flip side to that is if you're in the summer and you get a summer rain shower, then your feet are going to dry out pretty quickly, because again, that moisture can escape as your feet warm up again and start to dry off. However, Stylmartin do have a WP version of these, so they look exactly the same, styled exactly the same, with the exception that they don't have this mesh section. That's just normal leather on there. Different colours, they do a black version and a brown version, but essentially it's the same boot but just with a waterproof membrane inside. Everything else about them looks the same, so there's an option if you do want the backup of that waterproofness. But the reason I bought these is because I was looking for a lightweight pair of boots that I can wear in warm climates or on those really hot days in the summer, and these have been absolutely perfect. The other caveat is that they're not the stiffest boot. There's got to be a compromise between riding safety and walking, obviously, so you will find shorter boots that are stiffer than this. Having said that, there's plenty of shorter boots out there that aren't anywhere near as stiff as this. You know, the sole, you have to work it to bend it, but that doesn't mean that they're difficult to walk in. It does resist twisting, but not a great deal, so you need to be aware of what they are. They're great for urban riding. I think if you're touring, they're going to be a good boot as well. If you're starting to venture off-road, then obviously being a short boot without that protection and the fact that they can twist a bit easier, probably not recommended. Having said that, I have crashed in these off-road. I wore these to the Arai Tour X5 launch in Spain. We'd been told it was going to be a road ride, so a lot of us turned up wearing short boots like this and riding jeans and sort of canvas or leather jackets. When we got to the hotel, there was a fleet of Tuaregs and T7s, all with knobbly tyres, and the ride actually, we disappeared off into the mountains off-road. So we weren't quite expecting that. I did have an off on a downhill descent. It was a rocky, sandy descent, not a fast one, 10 miles an hour, just low-sided it. The back came round on me, gave it a bit too much rear brake, but I was fine. These protected me, the ankle protection worked. Obviously though, they are not a tall boot, so you do risk that sort of ankle twisting motion, and I was a little bit lucky with that. But they've been pretty robust. They also have stood up to the test of time pretty well. These still look really good. I've got a little bit of wear on the shifter pad, but outside of that, they still look really good. Now that's probably because I've only really worn them in nice weather, so they've not been subjected to rain and salt and road grime and that from the horrible parts of the year. But I think it's a testament to the quality of Stylmartin boots. They've stood up pretty well. So I think that's about it really. All I wanted to do was bring you a very quick and raw video review. As I say, I've worn them for a long time. As you know, I never review anything without testing it thoroughly, and I'm very happy with them. If you are looking for a lightweight short boot that's got a casual look but is still suitable to be worn on a motorcycle, then definitely these are something to have on your list to take a look at. The pricing is really good as well. These I think are good value at £181, and I'll leave links in the description below to a couple of retailers that I know that stock them. Salt Flats Clothing stock these, Sports Bike Shop stock these as well, so you can go away, have a look at that, read some of the reviews on there and see what other people are saying. But they are a boot that I can recommend if you want something that's easy to walk in, nice to ride in, looks pretty good, well priced. Stylmartin Vertigo Air is definitely something to add to your list. So I hope you found that useful. If you've got any questions about the boots, then let me know in the comment section down below. But all that leaves me to say is until next time, thanks for watching, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.